What's up, everyone? It's been a long time no speak to you guys, but I'm finally back. I'm going to be talking about my kind of qualms with Surviv main and a lot of the people involved in Surviv main being the old developers and the moderators and I guess now Libby. I'm letting you guys know this could be a very long video because I'm going to be going through basically like the last, I guess now close to like 3 years of my running in with the Surviv staff, going from Nick and Justin, mainly Nick, to the moderators, and now Libby, and why I over time just keep hounding the fact that I'm dissatisfied with not necessarily like the game too much, but rather just the way that they're handling everything else. I'm not going to talk about the game development. I'm not going to talk about what I think they should develop. I'm going to talk purely business rather than coding, because I'm going to be honest, I can pretend like I know what I'm doing in coding, but I really don't know how to run a game. What I do know is how to run a community and how to run a business. In fact, I might be able to announce this either before or after this video. I might be starting a job with an esports org, a very big esports org, starting soon. So because they saw my talent and they know what I'm doing, they know that I know what I'm doing. So if I can announce that, I'll either add that as a comment or I'll put it down in the description. That being said, this video is going to be very long. It may be in 2 parts actually because of how long it is. If it is, part 2 will come out exactly 1 week after this one comes out, and there'll be a link in the description if it's been past a week. I'd appreciate if you watch to the end, and if you do get bored and really do want to just help me, you can just leave the video rolling. You don't even have to watch it. That watch time would very much help me. But anyway, we're going to jump into actually the very beginning with Nick. This is back starting our conversation on February the 2nd of 2018. So nearly 3 years ago. So back at this time, I had just left my position as it's difficult to put into words what position it was, but basically my job was for a Minecraft server was to figure out how to make more money. So I would do stuff like novelty cosmetics as well, and that was the point where Eula started getting involved with Minecraft, so we weren't able to give like actual items that would help technically legally. So we straight off of that and went to more cosmetics. Anyway, I was able to make like $25,000 over the year selling in-game Minecraft items for a fairly large server called Class MC. It no longer exists. It ended when I left. The owner just decided that it wasn't worthwhile running anymore. But anyway, so I did actually know what I was doing. Nick was obviously fairly dismissive. I understand. I sound like a 12-year-old. Most of his players were 12-year-olds. So I understand that he shot me down here. But I'm going to go through this entire conversation so that you guys can't accuse me of, and when I mean you guys, I don't mean my viewers, I mean other people, can't accuse me of not telling the true story, the whole story. So I'm going to go through every message and everybody that I'm going to be discussing here. So I said, hey, have you guys thought of potential ways of increasing your income, aka like a glowing aura or hats or something? This is way before the idea of cosmetics. This is just when you could only have skins in-game and you couldn't choose them afterwards. Of course, this was back in 2018. I thought of having like a cool aura, like a halo or something like that. It'd also be a way to support the game, because this was back when the game was smaller. It was still making good money, but it would be nice if we were able to support them if they wanted some support. But anyway, Nick said, would you buy a glowing hat or glowing aura? And I said, sure, yeah, depending on the price. I mean, I think all the little 6-year-olds that would use their parents' money. And Nick said, maybe need to add accounts first. And then I said, true, I mean 99 cents for an aura. If even 0.1% of users bought one, that's a lot of bank. I said, and it doesn't mess with the balance of the game at all. That was where we left that conversation there. I was in discussion. This was back when I was more happening in Surviv main. I may dig through some screenshots in Surviv main. I don't think it'd really be worth it. If you guys want to, you can go back and look for my name, or you can just search Cryptic and find my name back around this time period, so February of 2018. So there was an issue. This was back when I was the co-owner of a clan called DM with Golden Nuke. If any of you guys are OGs, you might remember Golden Nuke. So this was back when clans were able to publicly advertise there. I was told by the mods that they were going to start not allowing servers to advertise if they had NSFW in it. So I said, is it true that NSFWs aren't allowed in clans? Because people are telling me that NSFW aren't allowed in clans, or we will be blacklisted on the clans list. I mean, if we have an NSFW tag where you have to say that you're 18 plus and would like to see that channel, we have multiple 18 plus members, including myself, and would like to have an area to talk about adult sensitive topics. That was kind of cap. I think the main reason was just for you know what kind of content I was talking about. But it was fun. It was more like risque anime and inappropriate memes. It wasn't like really too graphic, but yeah, I didn't think that it was really that big of a deal. I thought as long as people said they were 18 plus and they didn't have to opt into it, then it was fine. But anyway, I got banned by the moderator Nobody after saying like that's not really fair in the Surviv main. But I did end up getting banned. Nick here says, why'd you friend me? I said, why did you friend me after I got banned? Nick said, I just unbanned you. I said, okay, thanks, my dude. If you've got an issue with our mods, let me know in DMs, please. So I said, I've got an issue with your mods. He said, okay, well, I think that issue has been resolved. And this is when people were constantly butting heads with John and a lot of others there because they were just on a totally different wavelength from everybody else. And I don't think it was a super good wavelength that was conducive to anything besides what the like norm was. So that was a big issue for me. Besides that, I don't think it has been. This particular issue has, but the issue is going to keep popping up for me and for others. And then Nick said, which issue? I said their answers being vague and frankly dumb. And I said, and he said whose answers? I said all three of them. All three of them being, I can't remember 100% sure. I'm guessing it was probably Nobody, maybe Saul and A. I can't be 100% sure. So Nick said, well, TBH, some issues don't have clear answers, which is 100% true. And I would have expected like that's a question for Nick, or like, hey, maybe we should bring Nick involved with this, rather than them thinking they were almighty since they were mods of a big Surviv server. But at that point they were all young. We were all young. But at some point, if things do become over your head, it is responsible for you to bring in somebody who knows what they're talking about and somebody who can actually make decisions like this. So I said, when asked why I couldn't have an NSFW server, they said, because we will take your server down from the list of clans, which is a punishment, not a reason why. Anybody can figure that out there. If it's like, question is like, why can't I steal? The answer isn't because you're going to go to jail. Well, that is a answer, but the correct answer would be because that's morally wrong and that's not money you earn, that's money you've stole kind of thing. But I was getting a punishment, not a reason why. And Nick actually admitted some sort of fault here, which I don't think was actually his fault, but he took blame for it. Said, all right, that is my fault for not getting involved on that issue. And I said, but why? My question is, why is it not allowed? Because I didn't really think there was a big issue with it. Nick said, I don't care if you have an NSFW channel. However, it's a gray area. I'm not interested in promoting teams or YouTube videos or anything else glamorizing drug culture, NSFW, etc. And I said, we literally want a single channel. He said, that's fine. I don't care. And by no means will that be the concentration of our conversations. And he said, BTW, I'm not blaming or accusing you. However, I don't want to see any drama on our server, which is literally the entirety of the server at that point, because it was, or like everybody on the competitive side against the mods, because the mods were on a totally different wavelength. And that was back then when the time was John was a decent Surviv player, but not nearly good enough to be very competitive. So we think, and I have no evidence to back this up, that he was salty that he wasn't good enough to play competitive. We don't know that for sure. And I said, I mean, I'll try. What would you like me to do if I need to start drama? And by start drama, I didn't mean like I'm itching to start drama, like I want an answer and nobody's going to give me an answer unless I cause drama, because that's literally the entirety of Surviv from the start to the end. You only get an answer if you start drama. I'll prove to you that when we get to Libby's conversation. Expect to be muted / banned again. I meant like a solution. Never mind, I'll just fight them in DMs. Take it to DM or voice chat or something. Your own servers, I don't know. And I said, oh, so one of them had to be Fireretto. So maybe it was Nobody, Fireretto, and A, because I don't think I've really had an issue with Saul before. I said, I already blocked Fireretto for being a coward anyway and banned him from our server, and he caused a lot of the drama. And he said, okay, we've talked over, no NSFW channel allowed. Sorry, I'm guessing that was him. And the mods hated me, so there's a reason for them. I don't think they banned it because they actually didn't want an NSFW channel. I think they banned it because they wanted to get at me. But I said, bro, why not? And he said, if you want to do that, you will need to create a private server that's not linked in our server. It's not something I want to promote. And I said, you're not promoting anything. He said, well, we are by linking your server and team recruiting. By the way, he wasn't linking it. People had to link it there. Oh, this is back when DD, okay. So DD was DM and TD. So this was even a bigger server. This is probably 600 members in it. And so basically his reasoning here was that we would have Surviv main over here. I'm just using hypotheticals. Please follow my mouse here. Surviv main would link to DD here. And there couldn't be NSFW here because NSFW is bad. But if we make another server here, which is like DD NSFW, that's fine because that's not connected to Surviv main. Little do they know, the easy path is here to here to here. All right, boys, so I'm back. I will have to be a little bit quieter because it is now 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to take a little break to do some stuff here. So anyway, we're starting back again with this next stuff here. All right, so we're back here. We had one in DM for 10 days and there was never any trouble until somebody from Surviv main server asked to get it for it to get deleted. That's what caused the trouble. And what I mean by somebody, I mean one of the mods. So he said, well, there you go. Someone complained, said who? You said just happened. Yes, one of your mods. Literally nobody had issues with it besides your mods. Whenever I've asked people, and they're just like, because the Surviv mod said not to. Nobody really had an issue with it. And if somebody did have an issue with it, just don't click on the channel. It's not like we're at everyone with like super inappropriate content. Literally all it is a channel that you can click on that you can share stuff that's 18 plus. It wasn't that big of a deal. He said and I knew this is what was going on here. He said, you can have, you just need to unlink your server. He said you can have it, you just need to unlink your server, which is the ultimatum of you have this NSFW channel and you have no server, or you don't have an NSFW and you have this server, because there is no way at this time to organically grow without Surviv me. So he knew here that my only real option, the false dichotomy of having multiple options, because he knew that there was no other option here. So I hardballed. At that point we had like 1,000 members or so, and these are people that were playing an insane amount of Surviv, like an unrealistic amount of Surviv. Like we're talking 6-8 hours a day all these players were playing. It was insane. So I said, I hate to break it to you, this is causing more drama than an NSFW server ever could. And then I said, you do realize how much this clan generates for you? I know your AdSense, because at that point they weren't making that much money, and we realistically were accounting for like 4% of their player base, which doesn't sound like a big deal. But if you lose 4% of your player base overnight, or you discount that 4% of your player base, and I think it was probably more, it's probably even closer to 10%. Why would you ever shoot yourself in the foot for 10% of your player base for no reason? Why would you want 10% of your player base unhappy with you when you could just not? Like, that seems like such a simple solution to you. He said, I'm very happy with you guys being part of our community, and I'd like to say I just don't see what I gain by linking to NSFW content. I don't want to deal with it. And I said, what do you loses? And then I said, this is all the NSFW has gotten, which in my opinion, sure, it's not like 18 plus, but it's still NSFW. And then now I've got other people DM me asking me for their own channels, which it's like, I don't know what he was trying to say, like, wow, look, you started, now everybody wants this bad thing. It's like, okay, well, if everybody wants that bad thing, maybe it's not a bad thing. But anyway, I said, wow, seems like a lot of people want it. Nick commented to this video here, so that's not NSFW. I said, I know, right? How do you want me to relate this to real life here? NSFW equals posting porn. I don't want to link to that. And I said, you're not. You're linking to the general channel of our server. We already had this conversation here. You guys can read for yourself. Why don't you create your own private server for that kind of stuff? The point is, we don't want to have to... If he's trying to separate porn and make it taboo, which we weren't even really posting that stuff anyway, making it into its own server just incentivizes people to go in there and post inappropriate stuff. If I'm going to a whole server to post inappropriate stuff, you better bet I'm posting inappropriate stuff there. By us promoting servers, we were saying we approve of this group and their content. With that being said, they had a bunch of really bad servers in there, not only just like inappropriate and stuff and like raiders and stuff, but just like low quality, just garbage. And I said, but you're linking to solutions with a small server that they have to say they want access at to the very bottom of our server. And I said, you're not saying anything. You're saying these clans are recruiting. It's also an endorsement, like I'm not promoting 420 Life or whatever clan. You can make it just where I won't be linking to you, same with YouTube videos. Which is not true, because one of the main people they were promoting there, whose name was Joker Plays, old name used to be Stoner Plays. And he was a big weed addict. He ended up consuming his life basically. Like, they promoted to him too. They made him change his name, but half of his content was still weed related. So he said, I have no problem posting porn, do whatever. I'm just not directing people there, posting any private server. Now I think was my problem here. This wasn't really a good approach in my opinion, but I did it this way. I said it's art, and that it should be something that, am I accusing him of something that it should be ashamed of? And he said, okay, good chat. I hope you understand my position on that topic, which to be fair, I think it was a bad opinion. I don't really like, this was a hill I was willing to die for, not because I needed NSFW content. If I wanted that, I would just Google it. It's not that, it was a poor argument and not really a legitimate reason, but he was trying to make up one. This is probably a slippery slope argument here. You guys can read it if you want. It's just our rule ultimately. I think you can understand where I'm coming from. You just want to argue about it. I can't understand where you're coming from, but ultimately it's my server. That's not even true. It was him and Justin's server, and I'd argue that Justin had a majority of the control on the server. I'd say people listen to Justin more than they listen to Nick, but if he wants to think that's his server, go for it. He just comes back to the whole like, hey, this is my argument. I know you understand it, even though I thought it was a trash argument the entire time, but he wasn't going to actually argue it. He was just going to say, it's my server, I don't want it, whatever, which is technically his rights, but it was a trash rights. This was the thing here. You guys are the biggest / one of the only clans. If he knew that we were one of the biggest and one of the only clans, and he had the ability to turn us against his game, that to me is a very foolish bargain. And this is my point here. Who's going to quit Surviv Discord because there's an NSFW on one of the clan sites? I don't know. I think this whole argument was a very dumb argument because he had nothing to gain by having this argument and a lot to lose. Having an NSFW channel block really doesn't benefit anybody. Having NSFW channel doesn't really benefit anybody, but having an argument about whether or not it's allowed can really hurt a lot of people. I think actually this moment here is the reason why this whole issue between Surviv main and the competitive scene started dissolving. This NSFW ban was like the Archduke getting shot for World War I. Sure, like the actual event itself, I guess it's a big deal. It's really not in the grand scheme of life, but it dissolved into something majorly that ended up with Power not being able to make money off of it. This one decision here by Nick is preventing a multi-million-dollar company from making money on a game they bought for millions of dollars, in my opinion. And this is somebody who's been in the community the entire time. This has been somebody who's been on the front lines, sounds pretentious, but somebody who's been on the front lines of this battle between Surviv main and the competitive scene. He said, basically, maybe in the future when we've got dozens or hundreds of clans, fine, I don't care what they do. Which is actually funny because they ended up, when there was dozens or hundreds of clans, they actually blocked the entire thing, let alone, instead of giving us more freedom, they took away all of it in general. So this was a big lie that he probably didn't know he was telling, but he did. One channel at the very bottom, but for now that's how it's going to have to be, where they have to click I'm over 18 plus. They're in an NSFW channel for a reason. I can understand completely if we allowed 18 plus content in general, but one channel, you can't let us have one channel. I think you're being a little ridiculous. And he said, what if I am? Why is it so incensing? Someone being ridiculous is going to make someone get riled up. Everyone's got a private server with friends that has an NSFW channel. Why do you need the main clan server we are promoting? These are my friends. I've ever thought about that, because this was back when clans were partially competitive like Clanwar leagues and partially just a group of people to hang out. I mean, these were servers that were getting 25, sometimes close to 100,000 messages a day, constantly 24/7. There's people in there. And he said, well, sounds like a bad situation for both of us. And I said, exactly, but you could fix that situation very easily. In fact, you had it fixed, but then you broke it again. And he said, I can't though. I don't want to link to NSFW channels, but I'd also like to help people create servers and find more friends. And I said, notice that there was no drama when you allowed the NSFW servers for that period of time. And he didn't answer this. He said, I think you've got a few options. You can live without the NSFW channel. You can create a separate server, or we can remove the link to your server from team recruiting. Listen, since I'm talking to a brick wall, I have one thing to say. Everyone will agree with me. They're just scared of you, so they won't disagree with you. That's your problem. I don't know if you like it that way. If you do, that's just sad. Or just have them that way in case that's easily fixed, but you are controlling them. They can't think if they're on. They're all thinking, what would Nick do? And that's wrong. So I'll drop it at this point because it's not going anywhere. You're going to do what you want, and no one will be able to change that, no matter how good my argument or how wrong you are. But I want you to realize that everybody hates you. They're just afraid to show or tell you. So the problem is here, he's going for the same approach that Libby is. And I think it's a very sad approach. And I think it's going to end up really negatively affecting everyone in the long run. It's the I'm powerful, I'm talking down to you approach, which I think is a really toxic approach. And I know I've caught myself using it a couple times, especially when I became in power of the SWL. But I think it's such a toxic approach because it's the I refuse to listen to you because I'm better than you approach. And since he's in the position here that he owned the server, he was able to do whatever he wanted with it. And I'm not going to show you this picture down here, but it straight up has hentai as an advertisement. So I'm going to skip through that. I'll show you the bottom of it so that I can show you that we're not skipping messages. Here you can see the picture up here. So I said, so glad that I don't have to see it, and my 13-year-old clan member did. Nick said, yesterday by us promoting ads, we're saying we approve this group and their content. And so I said, dang, you approve of fine online brothel, man. Why do you want 13-year-olds going there? That was the name of the, I guess, website or whatever. And he said, a 13-year-old served that ad. And I said, yes, sir. I know, we're absolutely appalling. I mean, at least the top was Joker plays and not Stoner plays, which is Joker's last name, am I right? At least you don't like promoting porn on your Discord by linking them to a clan that has a very little section on NSFW on it that people have to say they're 18 plus to view it. And I said, I shouldn't have said this, but it said also your game supports communism because it has a communist crate in it. I don't know. Does it still have that? I don't know. I haven't played this game in months, but it may still have that crate. And so I said the day after my dude TD came into our Discord and banned all our members. So I'd like your opinion on that. And I said, not sure how you mean. How do they ban your members from your Discord? They click the ban button and booted them out of the DM server. Are they admins of your server or something? They were, well, not sure what can be done. The interesting thing is, at the same time they were banning people that were in a clan called Team Greater for just belonging in the server, yet they weren't able to punish people who actually came into a server and were incredibly disruptive. He said, oh, I'm not sure what can be done. I mean, it was a TD effort. There were multiple people enjoyed, all upper ranks from the TD. Joker included. The owner sister, the direct Clanwar non-individual. Sorry to hear about that. Not sure I can help. I mean, you could make a policy similar to the NSFW. Well, one, you're approving of them attacking your server, because I mean, you have them listed under teams recruiting. He said, I'll ask the mods what they think. Okay, no response. And this here is where my blood started to boil, because they took away NSFW. Why? Because Nick didn't want it. But here he says, I'll ask the mods what they think. Right here. It was no longer his server because he didn't want to deal with this problem. It was now the mods issues and the mods server, because he knew that they weren't going to crack down on me because they all disliked me because of this NSFW argument I had, what was it, like 6 days before? To me, that's just poor leadership. And this is the reason why I think it would have been smart for them to have somebody responsible be in Libby's position who's not trash at their job to deal with these issues when they couldn't because they were bad at it. We go a year later. This is right when he stopped responding to me at this point, but we were still friends. So I said, hey Nick, I know it's not your job to deal with this stuff, but I've talked to a couple of your mods and they're all dodging me. I was banned a few weeks ago for doxing somebody after previously getting banned for raiding, but yet none of your mods really knew what I did. The person that banned me, nobody is close friends with the person who I apparently doxed, and when I confronted it about it, he was incredibly hostile and not willing to work with me. I thought it was your server's policy not to interfere with clan issues, at least it was when I messaged you about a similar situation nearly a year ago, and yet I'm being banned for something that is incredibly minor, while nobody turns a blind eye on the 15 people that raided my and my friend's server, which I get a ban for attempting to do the same thing. To me, this is unfair, and I have no one to turn to as I can't even message the mods since I was banned without warning. I'm sure you're probably going to do that thing where you say mods had the final say, but I truly think there is an injustice going on here, and I would like to bring this up to you in hopes that I can be unbanned. The main reason I want to be unbanned is this. There are a few notable people that are very big in the Surviv community that go around raiding servers. The problem is that nobody believes they are issues because they are so prominent in the community. I would like to bring awareness of this issue in order to prevent everyone's servers from being raided. I mean, in the last couple of days, there are at least 5 servers raided by 2 groups. I think that's awful and I want to try to put an end to it. Of course, it's just a really bad approach for me to go to. He never responded anyway, but I'll give you a little bit of the situation here for what's going on. So Pale, a lot of you guys know Plus Pale, who's a really bad person. But anyway, he owned a server called Plus.io or Plus.io. Anyway, I went to his server with a picture of him that he sent to everybody and put Pale more like Gayle, Pale more like Gale, which to me was a funny joke. It was probably really mean. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying what I did was okay, but what I did was I spammed it in his general chat a whole bunch of times. What happened a week before that, unfortunately, I don't think it'll be here anymore because, I don't know if I can prove this officially, but those of you who knew DM or LM before, we had 5 what we called council members. It was me, Dom, Effie, I think. And then there was a girl, I don't remember her name, but basically what Pale and a couple others did was they convinced Dom and the girl to raid the server. So they banned everybody in the server. They got no punishment, even though I was able to completely prove that they were the ones who did it. They even admitted to it. They got no punishment. So a couple days later, that's what I did. I went into Pale server. I spammed it with the pictures. I said, somebody give me admin so I can raid this. I got banned for it. But what I knew, or the reason why I knew this was suspicious ban was because the day after the ban message was removed, I got unbanned briefly and I got rebanned, and they said it as unbanned from reban or rebanned from unbanned. So basically they made it where that there was no paper trail about what I did because they made it look like an accident that they unbanned me. This was completely nobody's. John, he now goes by John, I think. This is completely his doing. He knew he needed to bury behind a paper trail because my initial ban reason wasn't very good, but he wanted me out of there. So he took me out of there in beginning of February. So I was in there for nearly a year with no issues, but all of a sudden John wanted me out, and he finally had a reason that he could take me out, so he took me out.